You're listening to World Oil Deep Dive, conversations with energy industry leaders and engineers about the market trends and technologies shaping the oil and gas industry. Now, here's this week's episode.
All right, perfect. Welcome back, everybody. We're here at the Tomorrow Show in Oslo, Norway, and back with another distinguished panel. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself before we get into the conversation.
I'm Menno van Veghel. I head the information data analytics for Shell across all our assets globally. So that's the downstream part, as well as upstream or integrated gas, for example.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite an interesting role.
That's a lot. That's a lot of data.
True. No, it's the data platforms, it's the engineering data, but also, for example, digital twin.
Right.
And of course, the AI that's built on top of this.
Upstream, downstream, everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So chemicals, manufacturing, deep water, onshore, as well as integrated gas, so like trains and stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy. I got some good questions for you. All right, Shane. Not that you need an introduction to the crowd, but let's do it again.
No, I'm Shane McCardle. I'm the CEO of Kongsberg Digital.
Yeah, and responsible for all of this. So, responsible. I don't know, responsible.
I didn't organize it, but I'm responsible, yes.
Exactly.
Great team. I have a great team.
Exactly. So, to start with, let's just talk about, I mean, you've probably been in a lot of these presentations today. I know I have. What was your biggest takeaway from the presentations you saw?
Well, I think from one of the things which I really heard was a confirmation of what we're trying to first do in Shell also, right? We're also on the wave of AI. And there's a lot of experimentation going on, and that's good. But at some point, you need to consolidate and see where's the money.
Right. Yeah.
But also control, because you don't know what data they're putting in and out, and are we still also compliant, right? But I think where my biggest worry is, and we're deep in the engine room, and what I mean with that is we work the data.
Right.
And I can really tell you that more than half of my time is more spent on data, getting it right, getting it connected, getting it throughout the organization right, whether it's finance, engineering, operations, production, you name it, to actually enable what sits on top of that.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So to get any value from our AI as a starting point, that's where I'm spending most of my time, even engaging with the business, but also folks in IDT itself, or my counterpart, Shanjoy, who was presenting today. Mm-hmm. So that datafication, that has a lot of underlying prerequisites to make that happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the other thing really was takeaways, and it's a valuable lesson learned early in my career. You first have to unlearn before you can learn something new.
Very good, from David.
It doesn't stack, right? So you have to really get rid of the old beliefs and thoughts and knowledge to someone really move on and to the next stage. So that curiosity and being open to learn is really critical. And again, it re-emphasizes, it's not the technology that makes the money, it's the people that apply the technology that make the money.
I was just going to say, all your takeaways were the human takeaways, not the technology takeaways, because, and I think the exact same, where we started kind of heavy on the tech, we went to kind of, of course, the geopolitics, but we had to end on the human, because the big part of this succeeding is to do with people. And in some cases, we were talking, a lot of interesting conversations around the coffee machine and stuff like this, where people were saying, we need to get people on board to replace some of the tasks they were doing.
Yeah.
Imagine going to the organization and go, okay, you got to help us. We're going to replace 50% of your job.
Right.
It'll never be successful unless you bring them on this journey and go, okay, but what am I going to be doing? You have to open up new avenues of opportunity. I think very scary numbers were thrown up about how many jobs were going to be lost.
Yeah.
But then almost double the amount of jobs there was. And going to be created as well. Now, can you take with a pinch of salt, those numbers? Yeah, you probably can. But it's very indicative of where we are and what we believe is going to happen. And those numbers are heavily coming from the tech industry as well.
Correct.
And that for me was quite interesting. Stay close to the human characteristics that make you more human than the machines.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think everybody would agree, no matter what walk of life you're in or what job you do, there's a huge percentage of your job that's just boring, repetitive work,
true,
right?
Just don't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can tell people, like, look, use the AI for this boring part of your job, and that's going to free you to be more creative and more strategic in your thinking, I think that's the sell. As long as you don't tell them, guess what? As soon as it learns, we're going to fire you. I mean, that's the thing, right?
What I find though, it's the unlearning part. Some people like that busy work because they feel they're productive.
Yeah. Right.
And you're going, but it's not productive. Don't be measured on, output. It should be outcomes.
Yeah.
You need to measure on.
So, absolutely.
So you should always be going, well, don't be caught up in this. This is not filling all this information into an Excel file. Is that what represents your job? No, come on.
No.
But it's the unlearning part I think is difficult.
Yeah. And you know how it is in our industry. I mean, especially you're in one of the mammoths of the industry. People things don't change quickly, right? I mean, people are happy, but a lot of times because their job depends on it, right? I mean, it's like, hey, I've been doing it this way, never gotten in any trouble, everything worked fine. Why do you want me to change that and possibly have a problem, right? So that's an issue too. You kind of have to indemnify people to stretch a little bit, but hold them responsible anyway, right?
But you've seen some success with this in Shell, haven't you? Yeah.
We do. It's some I would say green shoots, but I think. Well, actually, I think Sanjay, who was also my counterpart, who was presenting, is if you think of unlearn, it's actually somewhat similar to that blank canvas, right? Yeah. That blank piece of paper. Yeah. And one of the speakers all said these humans have made themselves almost like unmissable because they've been specialized so much, right? They know so much that they can't get better.
Right.
But what I always say, it can't get better within the silo.
Right, exactly.
And coming back to the green shoot, I think what we're trying to do is, it is not about connecting the end-to-end process, it's connecting people within the process. Yeah. So if you think of the transformation, as was also outlined in one of the takeaways, you become the HR manager of both people and AIs.
Right. Yeah.
And that means also you need to think multidisciplinary, right? So you need to bring different disciplines together to really engineer a complete new process in a much simpler and more effective and more value-driven manner.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we're starting to do that. If you think of an automated asset diagnostic or how we can do risk management, working with Pearl, for example. But we're still learning, right? Yeah. So don't think for a minute that how it will look this year, how it will look in 5 years, right?
Right, exactly.
And delegating to agents, I mean, that's going to take a mind shift change. Like the video they showed of the lady with the driverless car just screaming, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Imagine delegating to an agent going, okay, that agent has to go and do something on behalf of me, treating it like another pair of hands, like another clever. That's going to be scary for people. It's going to take a mindset change.
And what's the difficulty for us, right? So we always see the end stage, right? So look at Sam Altman. He took 10 years before he actually got to the launch, right? Edison, 10,000 ways of doing wrong before you get the light bulb. And that's the thing. We do see that end stage. What we're struggling is what is this incremental pathway to get to that, right? So, and we will make mistakes, right? That's evident. So
people think to go from the data to AI, but there's this pathway we have to follow. Yeah.
And then there's this constant pressure. It's like Jerry Maguire, show me the money. So how do you balance value versus sort of experimenting and being able to learn and for which you pay a price to then move forward and get the value.
I always like this point though, like when people talk about what's the value of this, okay, does your organization use Excel? Every organization, what's the value of Excel to you as an organization? It's the same thing. You can't function without it. That's the value, And once these tools get embedded into your life, you can't take them away from you. That's the value of them, because it makes your job better or augments you, and it's very hard to measure that hard value as well in things.
That's a great segue, by the way, one of the other takeaways, because we're so much in these data standards across the industry, and I've said this in many other conferences as well, that is also key. It's like, I remember our former CFO, Jessica Yule, told me a big lesson that it's like building railroad standards, right? That doesn't pay back in 5 years, but in 50 or 100 years, you will understand, right? So how to then justify funding for these things, how we get that done in years, is you can't just put that in a simple business case, right? So you just have to believe that, okay, this will turn out for the better, just not right now.
Yeah.
And again, that was
productivity paradox,
today.
they call it. It's like, when computing came in the 90s, like, okay, there's going to be immediate productivity, and it wasn't.
No.
It was years before you saw any sort of productivity increase, like, but it did come.
Yeah.
So there's a belief there, kind of faith, that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But don't you think on the financial side now that people have less patience for that long game, you know, because everybody's got shareholders, everybody's got everything, and they're always like, oh, wait a second, this is a 5-year game, but you know, everybody's thinking about like the next quarter or the next 2 quarters. Yeah,
true.
Yeah. No, and this is the great balancing act, right? You have to perform for your shareholders, for your customers, whilst balancing out. There's some sort of, well, call them moonshots, whatever, where you just have to do the leap of faith and say, okay, we'll do a multi-year investment, we'll lock it down, and there will be failure, but we do expect that outcome. You just have to find that journey to that outcome. Right. But you can't do that for 20 things, right? You have to be selective.
Very specific, right?
It's true.
And I think that is also an art rather than a science, to say what is that one thing why we should do that, right? And I think that's also, we're trying to learn incrementally, say, okay, each time there's like a junction, right? And I think that is the way to experimentally grow and learn, but you need to make room for that, next to just getting the basics right and earn money, to earn, to have the funding secured for next year. Right. So,
but you see how funding is coming from Silicon Valley. You know, the Eric Schmidts of the world.
Oh my goodness!
They believe in it. They're pumping billions of dollars into this, and it's not. They're not going to show any value or profit for the next years. I don't know how long, but they know this is going to be fundamentally important to how we're going to work and live in our lives. So, you know, people do tend to look at them and go, well, I'm not going to stop investing into this because you know I want to be part of this journey. And you need to start now. You know, because you can't wait till everything's perfect and it's all ready to go. Okay, now we're showing value. But your competitors are behind there, already built out the value. Reskill their workforce because it's not going to be turned on like that. You have to incrementally kind of massage this into an organization, have people work with it day by day for years before I think you're able to extract the maximum value from it.
But aren't there little steps along the way where you can measure that incremental value increase? It's not like all of a sudden, oh, no value, oh, now we got value, right? There's incremental steps where you can say, look at the money we saved, or look at the money we've gained by doing this, just this tiny thing.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is to start to connect the dots. And what I mean with that, if you set certain outcomes, like higher margin or higher production or reliability, you need to tie that back then. So how does digital contribute to that? How does data contribute to that? How does AI contribute? And it's not an exact science model, but you need to sort of be able to, okay, these are the key building blocks that enable that outcome, and that's one. But I want to come back to your point, because you mentioned a great thing, right? So if you look at the AI companies, right, whether it's ChatGPT or Llama or Gemini, they have the greatest engineers there. Our let's say
paying them $100 million. They're paying $100 million.
We don't have those great AI engineers, but we do have great physical engineers, right?
Absolutely.
That's very true.
And that was also the other takeaway. It's the physics and also the physical part. You need to start coupling with these engineers, because it's great if they're sitting at Microsoft, but unless they start to contextualize to our world and combine it with the engineering skills of our world, then you get the magic, right?
Right, exactly.
And the trust. And the reliability,
exactly.
because
and having them in abundance, right? I mean, even with KDI, right? There's some great people out there, but they also have to make sure, because they don't have like a can where they can just. They're really like, there's always like a core of people that really make that difference. So putting those right people together, I think is really the magic sauce.
You can even see it with Facebook. Like there's probably 15 people that are running their super intelligence program.
Right, exactly.
It's not like 100 people or 200 people. You don't need that many people either. But then you need to be able to build a product that can scale the intelligence. They're like, they're looking for super intelligence, but industrial intelligence, like we're talking today, you need to have those people who understand, well, this is a pump. This is how a pump works. Right, you know, it's not just ones and zeros.
And here's what you measure. Here's how you maintain it, right? And all these things.
That's so important if you're trying to adopt AI into the heavy asset industry. And it's a big gap. A lot of people don't understand how complicated it is. Like, you know, they think, oh, it's consumer data. It's the same. It's not the same.
The physics and stuff is tough.
So coupling a geophysicist with a mechanical engineer, a rotating equipment engineer, and then finding it out, that I think is the magical. And it comes back to where we started, right? It's those people combining and sharing, building on each other's ideas that really make that difference. And that is always the challenge. How do you bring those people together and give them the room to do that, including to learn, not fail, and bring that forward? And sometimes I feel I got it right, but more often I believe I'm getting it wrong, right? So, yeah.
And so, but you guys have an internal program in Shell then to do that, to get those right people together, right?
If you compare us 10 years ago, how integrated our IT is into the business. So our former downstream director, Hubert, always said, yeah, IT is my co-pilot. So you see, before co-pilot actually existed, right? So we still feel that. And IDT nowadays, if you look like 20 years back, we're just a cost.
Right.
And now we're seated at the table towards value. By the way, you don't get that unless you're reliable and secure and operate. That's the basic table stake.
IT get bashed a little bit, don't they? In this
but beyond that, it is really, they're looking at us. You need to help us shape that journey. And like I say, I don't have the answers, right? But I do see that end goal. And I have tremendous motivation and energy to really, experimentally go through that path towards that end and learn and then improve.
Yeah, now, there must be, ballpark it, how many terabytes, whatever the amount of data that you guys that
petabytes,
you deal with.
Yeah. If you think of seismic.
Right? So
right?
how many?
How many? Yeah, but if you take away seismic,
roughly, just ballpark.
Well, we're still talking petabytes.
Still talking petabytes. You have to be rows of data, like streams from sensors.
Unstructured data, right?
It's crazy.
Create a big 3D model. We even have to compress it to get it into the digital
every
twin.
day.
Otherwise, it doesn't perform, right?
Think about how many rewrites you do in a PNID.
Yeah. And you don't think of these things up front, right? So, but also for the mobile worker, right? There's very simply, we need to compress it because otherwise it doesn't perform, right? So it's all these things along. But so if you look at the amount of, there's more data we have than probably what we can chew.
Okay.
But it's also about how good is data and how much do you need to make it effective.
Right. So you don't have to go back because we've had sensors on, upstream, downstream stuff for a long time. There's reams and reams of data that were coming in before we could actually use it, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you don't have to go back that far in reality, right? You just can use, more recent data to,
exactly.
to do things too.
You don't have to do, and that's also avoid boiling the ocean, right?
Right.
Always start, like I said, narrow scope.
Narrow scope,
Small increment. I heard it today again. Narrow scope, build incrementally, learn, and then only once you get it right, you start to scale and replicate, right? And we had to do that also in the context of digital twin. First, get it a right base product, and then suddenly, if you also looked 2 years later, the speed at which we can deploy is much faster.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's also by learning.
So a lot of learning.
Yeah. and I think the same will happen with AI, right?
Pick a lane, go after that lane, really go after, pile in the collateral behind it, fix it. But what we always say is, and I think it was Sean I mentioned here as well, was pick a problem that scales.
Yeah.
Don't pick a narrow problem that's very exciting or nice to do.
Yeah.
Pick one that, if you fix it for one person, one asset, scales across thousands of people or hundreds of assets.
Correct.
And I think that was a very good point to take away from there as well, actually.
Absolutely.
Now, I've heard that repeatedly, that's what you want to do, is you want to pick some easy, low-hanging fruit that seems innocuous, but eats up time for everybody.
Shift enterprise.
Yeah, exactly. And then just take care of that, and then you can scale it out for the whole company. It's fantastic. But so how you're working with all this data. There's always more data coming in. Do you feel like you're on a treadmill? Or is there a system? Is there a system? Where okay, now we got the system. It comes in and it goes right back out to this. I mean,
No, of course you have to also manage technical depth, right? And technical depth also means data depth, right? And give an example, right? We also use real-time data systems, right? So you're not going to keep 20 years of history, right? So you basically archive or actually delete after a period of time, compliance-based, of course. But it's also about thinking of those policies, because it's not just data depth, it's even a footprint, right? If you keep it in the store. So you have to really manage that life cycle of data as well. And that's also, again, what I took away here, is that you really have to get a mindset that you know what problem to solve and what that outcome is and what brings that together. And that means you don't need all the data. Enabling an AI to learn, sometimes you require 1 year data, but for example, if in a condition-based maintenance it's only once in 8 years, you may have to turn for a few things 8 years back, right? In a turnaround, for example, right?
For example.
Maybe one last thing, switching gears again around the people. One thing, again, it reminded me of the takeaway. The oil and gas business, and I'm probably one of the later joiners, right? I have colleagues, they have tremendous experience, and it's what they call the silver generation, right? Which Gardner also says are the most valuable people.
I felt that
And
personally.
it was also coming here, right? They interviewed the people before they left, retired, so that they could put it in a knowledge base.
There's a big crew change there, actually.
Yeah, and I really see sort of this potential gap that unless we start to help our next generation and augment them with that knowledge, we might run into an issue or challenges in how we operate these assets, right?
That very point now, we're all moving back to nuclear.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't have enough people building who have the knowledge of how to build nuclear. They're going back to guys who are 70 and 80 years of age. That's the last time there were some new nuclear facilities were put into the world, and they have such a gap there. And that knowledge is just going to disappear. All of that learning, the tricks, the tips, the failures, how to avoid them, it's scary. It's scary. So we're seeing it now in our industry, and many of our industries actually. So that's where I think technology can become this knowledge graph, this capture of what's happening, and then synthesize it for the younger people that we need to come into this industry.
Absolutely. And so that training and that literacy, what we also heard today, again, it just reminds me, it's people getting them to the right starting point to actually then really be able to use the tools, but also provide the business continuity, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think in our business, in the oil and gas business, right, that we got kind of a bad rap, and people were like, "Oh no, I don't want to work in that. That's not a good industry." But now with all this tech coming in, are you finding that more people are? Wait a second, man. You know, I studied data science. You guys are dealing with tons of data. That's a good match. I want to go work there.
Yeah.
Are you finding that? Or are you privy to that part?
We do see more hybrid skills appearing, right? So people that know both some of the technical and the IT part, as well as the geophysical, for example.
But it's a hard mix you have to get there.
But it's not that common, right? But I want to come back to your point around you put tech on, but I think that's the other thing in this. You can't bolt on tools, right?
Right, yeah.
So again, just as you need to redefine an end-to-end workflow or process, you also sometimes need to redefine your tech stack. Mm-hmm. So what might have been required in terms of data and tech to get all these disciplines to do their thing and somehow connect, you may need much less if they become more cross-discipline. And we haven't figured that out, but we believe we should not just add, but we should also replace, right?
Right.
Because that's the other thing I think, particularly discussing with some of the peers in the industry, we've got over 50, 60 years of IT built up, right? Yeah. So you can put something on top of it, but you also need to somewhere get rid of the stuff.
Yeah,
so
but
that
track
data
IT budgets over the last 50, 60 years, they haven't flattened, they've only grown
right? So
it's not sustainable.
So it's like you say, create me an Excel sheet in Copilot. Why are you still using Excel, right?
Right, exactly.
So people have to also, again, unlearn and then accept that you can do without certain systems before then being able to move and really exploit the technology. It's like a digital twin that's fully AI enabled.
But don't you think that's difficult to find those type of people? Because what percent of people who are willing, who are subject matter experts, built their whole career doing this thing this way, are willing to, what? I think there's a better way we could do this from scratch. I mean, that's like a entrepreneurial spirit within a large company, right?
Yeah.
And so
well, that's what they said, right? So you have to do that inner innovation and entrepreneurship. But I think, again, it starts with the people, make them part of the solution rather than, hey, here's the center, here's where But you do need to get them in a frame of mind to saying, hey, think of a blank piece of paper. If you were to do all this over again, and this is the objective, and you need all this knowledge from these disciplines to get to that outcome, how would you then think do it?
Right.
But the best way to bring in is people who just don't know about the industry and start asking, I need a button here, a button here. Why do you need buttons? And I go, because there's a button on the machine. And you go, but why do you need it? You can just automatically trip itself. You know, you need to have people coming in who are almost ignorant of a process, but mix them with the experts, and they go, well, this is mandated because it's secure, it's a double redundant, and you go, okay, then we keep it in. But then why do you need a second button? Okay, we don't actually.
Right.
So it's kind of ignorant view of the world because they start with a blank canvas. I think people outside of an industry that have no clue of how it works, you put them to kind of mix together. Shell says, well, kind of saying, no, you have to have it like this. But why? Why? Really challenge. And young people, man, they challenge. You know, it's great. They really push because they want to learn as well. You know, and if you go, well, this is mandated. You know, there's regulations and stuff that mandate something like this. Okay, but suddenly you start thinking, is this regulation stupid? Is it antiquated? Why do you have it in place? So I like this mix. You need to bring in people who are different. And what did you call it? A cognitive diversity? I think this is a great way to start thinking what a blank canvas looks like.
And one of the speakers also said, always be careful when you talk to a person in the asset. Who are you talking to? And then, am I solving my problem or am I solving a business problem, right? And it's not about solving my problem, because my problem might be a result of the inefficiencies created in the first place, right? So it's really about solving the problem that prohibits us to get to that business outcome.
Exactly.
Very good.
So these reminders again put me away with energy, and then coming home, I hope I remember a couple of them to really apply in practice, right?
I know. Good. But we're going to send some links out, I think, from the whole event, and we've been asked, did you get a book?
I got a book.
It's great. So it's really good. But guys, thanks so much for joining. I really
thanks.
appreciate it.
Great conversation.
Thanks for organizing. Great conversation.
Great conversation. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks very much.
Good.
Jim. Thanks again.
Good.
Thanks for tuning in to our show. Please check out the show notes for the links we discussed in the podcast. We value your opinions, so if you have any questions or comments, kindly email them to us at deepdive@worldoil.com. Additionally, we'd appreciate it if you could rate us on your preferred podcast listening app. Lastly, don't forget to visit worldoil.com for the latest technical articles and news about the oil and gas industry.